Okay, so today let's take a look at this LeetCode problem 495, Teemo Attacking. In the League of Legends world, there is a hero called Teemo, and his attacking can make his enemy Ashe be in poison condition. Now given the Teemo's attacking ascending time series towards Ashe and the poison time duration per Teemo's attacking, you need to output the total time that Ashe is in poisoned condition. You may assume that Teemo attacks at the very beginning of a specific time point and makes Ashe be in the poisoned condition immediately. And the note says you may assume that the length of the given time series array won't exceed 10,000. So this is the boundary of the text. And also you may assume that the number in Teemo's attacking time series and his poisoning time duration per attacking are non-negative integers and won't exist this number. Okay. We are also given two examples here. In the first example, the input array is 1 and 4, and the duration for each tag is 2, let's say 2 seconds. The output is 4. So how this output 4 is calculated? Let's take a look. So we have array, and the index is the start time when the attacks happen. Okay, so the first attack happens at 1 and it lasts for 2 seconds. So this is our first attack. And then the second attack happens at 4, and it also lasts for 2 seconds. So as we can see, at time 1, 2, and 4 and 5, Ashe is in the poisoned condition. So the total amount of time that Ashe is in poisoned condition is 4. Now let's take a look at the second example. So in the second example, there are two attacks. The first attack happens at time 1, and it lasts for 2 seconds as well. The second attack happens at 2, and it lasts for 2 seconds. So we can see the total amount of time that Ashe is under attack is 3 seconds. So she's in the poisoned condition for 3 seconds. Now we need to design an algorithm to calculate the total amount of time that Ashe is in the poisoned condition for a given input array. So how can we do that? So the idea is that we calculate the poisoned condition time between any two consecutive time points, and then we sum them up to get our result. So let's say we have several tags. The first tag happens at T1, and the second text happens at T2, and the third text happens at T3, and so on and so forth. So what we need to do, we just need to calculate the time between T1 and the T2 minus 1, right? We calculate how long Ashe will be in the poison condition between T1 and T2 minus 1. And similarly, we calculate how long Ashe will be in the poison condition between T2 and T3 minus 1, and so on and so forth. after we having all these point condition time between any two consecutive time points, we just need to sum them up. One note we need to keep in mind is, in order to avoid calculate the T2, a specific time point twice, we only calculate the point condition time between T1 and the T2 minus 1. We don't do T1 to T2 inclusive, right? Because T2 will be considered when we do calculate the condition time between T2 and T3. Okay, so now how can we know how long actually will be in the point condition between T1 and T2? So there are two cases. Let's use the red line to represent the duration. The first case is the duration is less than T2 minus T1, right, which can be represented as the green line. Okay, if duration is less than T2 minus T1, we just need to add the red line to the result, because the text only happens at the red line time, right? In the second example, in the second case is, if T2 minus T1, which is the green line, is greater, let's think it another way. If the duration is greater or equal than the T2 minus T1 here, we only add the duration, the green line, to the result, because the exit part, this part will be calculated later. So as long as the duration is equal or greater than the T2 minus T1, we only add the T2 minus, we only add the duration to our result, right? And then we just calculate the amount of point condition time between the two consecutive time points and sum them up. And lastly, when the last attack happens, since we don't have the next time point, right? So we just add the duration. So that's the idea. Let's code it. So first thing first, let's check the input, check whether the input is valid or not, and also some corner case. So if time series is null or half size 0, we just return 0. No text will happen. Otherwise, we start from the first tag point at the n-1, right? Because we're gonna handle the last attack separately. Okay, let's do that. So we first calculate the time difference. Let's call it diff. I plus 1 minus time series at I. Okay, then we just handle the two cases. So if diff is greater than or equal to the duration, we add the duration to the result. Let's set a variable. If not, we add the diff to the result, right? So these are the two cases we just talked about. So eventually we just need to return result. Oh, yeah. So as I mentioned, we need to handle the last attack separately. So we need to add the duration for the last attack. Okay, so let's compile the code and submit it. Okay, so the time complexity gonna be big O(n), since we just need to do the linear search of the time series array. And we only create a local variable, so the space complexity will be big O1. And that's it.